And hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into the only sports talk show that really matters right here on IUP-TV. It's the big hit. Coming up now, we're going to talk so many sports in a litany of ways, ladies and gentlemen. We'll start in the NBA with the playoffs just around the corner. We'll look at some teams who are trying to get right before then. And then we'll hit the ice and examine a possible rule change in the National Hockey League. And then we will unleash the madness of March by recapping the NCAA tournament and previewing the Sweet 16 here on set. And then we'll look at the red-hot IUP Crimson Hawks before their Elite Eight showdown with Azusa Pacific. So hop aboard because, ladies and gentlemen, it's the big hit, and it starts right now.
Students in communications media at Indiana University of Pennsylvania can focus on a variety of areas, including media promotions. Our promotion students learn their skills by working in a hands-on environment, gaining real-world experience. They learn how to use media to promote, produce, and manage events, and how media organizations operate. They create promotional campaigns and help clients pitch their services, products, and events. With excellent classes led by experienced teachers, the Communications Media Department at IUP is perfect for students interested in media promotions.
And welcome into the big hit, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to talk some basketball here as we crash the boards NBA style with our NBA analyst, Freddie Mitchell, and the man who liked it so much last week. He came back again, Darnell Turner. Guys, let's start just like we started last week in the Eastern Conference with the Atlanta Hawks, because they have dropped 3 games in a row to Golden State, Oklahoma City, and San Antonio, all teams from the Western Conference. So my question to you is that do these 3 losses point to a bigger issue with the Atlanta Hawks moving forward?
Not at all. The Hawks are a completely fine team going into the rest of the stretch here at the end of the season. I mean, yeah, they lost 3 in a row, but out of the last 10 games they played, 8 of those games are on the road, 2 are at home. They're coming off a few games in a row on the road, so I don't really think you could look at this as just like, oh, the Hawks are going to crumble and fall. This team lost 2 games in the month of December and went undefeated in the month of January, so 3 losses in March. You can't really put a 3-loss streak saying that their postseason chances are going to be crumbling. Now they're still number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. I think they're fine going through the rest of the stretch.
Yeah, I think the Hawks are fine. Like you said, they lost to the Spurs, tough teams in the West. And this is the first time they haven't dealt with any adversity all year. So this is the first time they've dealt with some adversity. So this is the first time we're able to see who the real Hawks team are and get to see if they could get back on track before the playoffs. But I think they're fine. A 3-game losing streak, they'll get it back together.
Yeah, and after an undefeated month of January, like you said, Freddie, I think they have a little room for error, so to speak, and it's better to get this adversity out of the way now than to face your adversity for the first time in the NBA playoffs, so that's very good.
And their last 12 games are against teams that are almost. They beat all the teams that they're playing. Charlotte, I saw Brooklyn on their schedule. Teams that are below 500 that they shouldn't have any worries going into at the end of the stretch here.
Yeah, and when you look at Atlanta, already the number 1 team in the East, so easy schedule down the stretch. Hopefully they can capitalize on that. But let's go ahead and talk about the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, that being the Cleveland Cavaliers. They clinched a playoff spot in the Eastern Conference, sit 8 games behind Atlanta for the top spot. So let's go ahead and compare these teams a little bit and ask, who was the more formidable foe in the Eastern Conference, Atlanta or Cleveland?
I still think Atlanta is the top dog in the East just because of the fact that they're consistent, minus 3 games they just lost in a row. We just talked about that. But when we look at Cleveland, yes, I have LeBron and Kyrie are playing well in tandem together. They have a good chemistry down, but Kevin Love is a different story every night. Kevin Love's sitting out because he's hurt. Now he's not hurt and sitting out. Now he's playing, and he's only playing all right. He's only getting limited minutes. So I think that is a wild card for them, and I can't trust Cleveland without having Kevin Love there at full playoff potential.
I have to go with the Cavs at this point. You look at the trade that they made in the middle of the season, I think it's really helped their team a lot. And I think come playoff time, if it does come down to the Hawks and the Cavs, I think the star power will just be too much for Atlanta. Now, you say that about Kevin Love, he's not playing well. And the Cavs are still on this great streak now in the 2nd seed. So I think if come postseason, if Kevin Love actually ever gets to that all-star form, I don't see a team beating them in a 7-game series.
Yeah, no question about it. Kevin Love is going to be that guy that kind of swings things one way or the other. There was kind of a shots fired incident with the local Cleveland station. They put up the graphic on the screen. The big 3, so to speak, it was LeBron James, J.R. Smith, and Kyrie Irving. Kevin Love not included. We'll see if he's able to get back to form here like he played in Minnesota, because he was fantastic there. But let's go ahead and move on to some transaction news here. Two-time NBA MVP Steve Nash is calling it quits after 19 years in the NBA, dealt with a litany of injuries over the past number of years. So my question to you is, where does he rank among the all-time greats at the point guard position?
I think Steve Nash is definitely a top 15 player, maybe top 10 point guard in the NBA all time. I mean, it's unfortunate at the end of his career it didn't go the way that he wanted it to. And it's also unfortunate that when he was with the Suns, when he was in his MVP years, that he never won a title. That kind of hurts him when you compare him to other point guards overall. But, I mean, he did finish third-time All-in-Assists with 10,335. And he finished number 1 overall in free throw percentage at 90.4%. So that kind of helps him out. I mean, he's got some great accolades to go with his career. But you can't put him. I don't think you can put him in like top 8, top 7 point guards of all time, just because of the limited number of titles that he has. I think that hurts him a lot.
For me, Steve Nash has to be in your top 10. I mean, he's third all-time in assists, 2-time MVP. Only 3 point guards have won MVP: Magic Johnson, Bob Cousy, and Steve Nash. So I think when you look at what he did throughout his career, he has to be in your top 10. And of course, falling short of winning a title, that does hurt his resume. Him and Karl Malone now the only 2-time MVPs that never won a title. So that does hurt his career. But he's had a wonderful career. 4 times he went 50, 40, 90. That's amazing. And he's a first ballot Hall of Famer for sure.
Oh, no doubt, hands down.
Yeah, no question about it. And when you look at Steve Nash, you always have the detractors, and they will always say he didn't win the title, but you still can't discount what he was able to do on the basketball court. Finishes his career averaging 14 points per game, 8.5 assists per game, and he shot it almost 43% from behind the arc. You also mentioned, Freddie, his free throw percentage over 90%, which I always just found to be an absolutely incredible feat. But let's go ahead and talk about a team in the Western Conference here, the Oklahoma City Thunder, who will be without Kevin Durant for the rest of the regular season, maybe longer if they make the playoffs. Serge Ibaka also out about a month with an injury. When you look at OKC, they're probably going to be the number 8 seed in the Western Conference. So my question is, how does this news of Kevin Durant being out, Serge Ibaka being out, affect the team moving forward?
I mean, a few weeks ago, we all saw this match. This would be a great matchup, 8 versus 1, Oklahoma and Golden State. Now with all these injuries, it's just going to be a regular 8 seed and a regular 1 seed. Without the power of Kevin Durant and Ibaka, I really don't see there's any way of holding any competition events, Golden State, Splash Brothers, etc. So unfortunately, I think that they could have made a run against number 1 seed, but now with these injuries, there's just no chance. And just back to the drawing board from Oklahoma, because just beginning of this season when you thought, will we even make the playoffs? Never mind, compete against the number 1 seed.
Yeah, it has to be very saddening for the team without Kevin Durant and Serge Ibaka. It's really a shout out to the GM of the Thunder for going out and making that trade to get Enes Kanter, DJ Augustine, because if they don't make that trade, I don't think this team is really in position. Yeah. It's still, they're only 2 games up on the Suns. There's a lot of games left to play. Anything can happen. But I think the way Westbrook is playing, they should have that AC locked up. But they do have enough talent to maybe compete, but I just don't see them beating the Warriors in the first round.
Yeah, there's no way they push this to a 6 or 7 game series like they could have with all their star power if they were all healthy.
Yeah, you mentioned it before. With everybody in the lineup, that would certainly be an intriguing matchup. Now with some injuries, kind of tip the scales in favor of the Golden State Warriors. But one guy trying to tip the scales back in the Thunder's favor is Russell Westbrook, and the performance is that he has been have been off the charts, 10 triple doubles rather this season, and he's really been fantastic, carrying the Thunder all year long. What does this do for his MVP case, Russell Westbrook, and these triple doubles? He's had 10 this year, very good.
I mean, yeah, Russell's been one of my favorite point guards to watch all season. There's no doubt, hands down, he's definitely one of the top 3 point guards in the league today. But being that his team's the AC MVP, obviously it hurts him a little bit, but obviously this is a great milestone for this season, and by him reaching that milestone, it only helps and proves the point that he should be an MVP, being that he single-handedly stayed healthy all season and is carrying his team into the playoffs.
Yeah,
especially in the West, too.
Yeah, every time he steps on the court, he's helping his case. The stat man took away his rebound for the 1 triple-double, so now he only has 9. But either way, 9 triple-doubles is still great, and he'll probably have a few more before the season is over. But I just can't put him over James Harden and Steph Curry at this point. The way they've consistently played the whole season from the start of the season, no injuries, and they're at the top of the West, I just can't put Westbrook over those 2.
Yeah, and in a vote among players, James Harden was voted the hardest player to defend in the NBA. So he may have that MVP award on lock. A couple of other guys also in the mix for that as well. But it was a good NBA talk here tonight with Freddie Mitchell and Darnell Turner. We'll take a step back and then come back, eat our hamburgers, and hit the ice and talk some National Hockey League when we return right here on The Big Hit, ladies and gentlemen.
I did everything right. I went to college, graduated with honors, but I'm just not getting to where I want to be. I need to get to the next level. What am I missing? Where are these people going? What do they have that I don't? How do I get that edge, that hands-on experience that will put me ahead of the competition? Graduate school at Indiana University of Pennsylvania.
And we'd like to welcome you back here to the Big Hit. We're going to shift our focus now to the hockey scene and talk some NHL in the penalty box. And joining us for that, it's our NHL analysts, Mike Gosnell and Andrew Friend. Guys, let's go ahead and begin tonight here in the Big Apple. Talk about the New York Rangers a little bit here. 46-18-7, 99 points already this season. Clicking on all cylinders, if you want to put it that way. They have the best record in the NHL, and they're doing it without star goalie Henrik Lundqvist. So my question to you is very simple to start off here tonight. What factors have played into the Rangers' success so far?
Do we have 2 hours? Because it's not just one singular thing. Most would pin it on Cam Talbot, of course. He's 17, 3-3. Just a fantastic mark on the year for Cam Talbot. No one really expected the Rangers to even sniff first place. They got off to a slow start, and when Henrik Lundqvist went down, they were playing good hockey at one point. He goes down, you'd think, okay, this team's not going to finish first, maybe second or third at best. But they just picked up right where they left off and never missed their stride, I think. It's a combination of Talbot. You never want to shortchange a goalie, especially one that could start for a poor franchise right now. I think he could really step in for another franchise. I think it's more along the lines of the defense. I think the way that their defense is set up, they like to get the puck up the ice in a hurry. They like to play fast. And going out and getting a guy like Keith Yandel who can move the puck with great force, and you already have two good puck-moving defensemen, Mark Stoll and Ryan McDonough, on your blue line. I think the reason why they haven't missed a beat really is because of the defense. And through the defense, the offense of the New York Rangers goes. And when the defense isn't going, the offense isn't there. And we've seen they've been able to win games like 1-0, 2-1, 3-1, 2-0. Now they can score 7 goals. They just put up 7 on the Anaheim Ducks, another good team in the league. So if they can score 7 goals and still maintain their success at 1 or 2 goal games, boy, that's a scary thought.
Exactly, and I love exactly what you said with Cam Talbot being able to fill in for another slot. The guy is really doing amazing out there, really shining. Definitely a great supplement for King Henry as he's out for right now. Should be coming back here soon. Also, we have Rick Nash. He's tearing it up. Third in the league in goals. I mean, really doing well offensively as well as with the defense. Cam Talbot, as I said. Rangers are definitely looking good.
Yeah, when you look at Rick Nash in terms of his points and games played, 63 points in 70 games, but even more impressive, a plus 24 for Rick Nash. Really a nice resurgence for him. He was kind of very quiet for a couple of years, but had a nice resurgence and really started the season off well as well. But let's go ahead and take a look at the youth movement here at the National Hockey League and talk about the Calder Trophy given to the league's best rookie. Right now, we've got 4 candidates kind of in the running for this particular award. Johnny Gaudreau, Philip Forsberg, Mark Stone, and Mike Hoffman among those suitors. So pretty simple question here as well, guys. Who do you think wins the Calder Trophy?
I think it's going to come down between Johnny Gaudreau and Philip Forsberg. If I had to choose one, I'd definitely pick Johnny Gaudreau. On a team like Nashville where Philip Forsberg plays his hockey, he is a key part of that team, but I think that the Nashville Predators could really pick up the slack offensively if he was having not as quite a good year as he is now. I think on a team like Calgary where Johnny Gaudreau plays, without him, I don't think they're even sniffing playoff contention. They're light years where they should be right now because of Johnny Gaudreau and how good he's been. 57 points this year, 20 goals, 37 assists. on a team that was expected to be in the basement of the Pacific Division. But here we are, 10 games out of the playoffs, and they're in the final playoff spot, third in the Pacific. So that's a pretty good indicator of how valuable Johnny Gaudreau is. We knew he was going to be special coming in. Last year we got a small taste. This year he's proving that he can be lights out despite his size. He's a very small player when it comes to the standards of the NHL, and he's been able to produce along with Sean Monahan. And I think if nothing else, look at where his team is as compared to Nashville. You expect Nashville to be in the top tier with the way they're coached and the way their team's set up. With Calgary, no chance. And with Johnny Gaudreau playing the way he is, they're light years of where they need to be.
I'd like to say Mark Stone. I believe that he's going to win the Calder Trophy. Reason being is that the Senators, they're doing all right now, but they've really picked it up as of late. 14-1-1 they are in the last 16 games. But Mark Stone, he has 18 goals, 33 assists. He's a really great athlete, definitely a good fit for the Senators, I believe, anyways.
Well, Mark Stone is an interesting player because he was a very good goal scorer for the Brandon Wheat Kings in the Western Hockey League when he was in juniors, and not really highly thought of as an NHL prospect, really not high up in the Ottawa Senators system, but they gave him a chance, and on a team that's missing Jason Spezza, Daniel Alfredson, and Danny Heatley since they departed over the last couple years, you would expect Ottawa to be in the basement, and they've been picking up the goal scoring from Mike Hoffman as well as on that Ottawa Senators team, leading the team in goals. It's been a complete team effort, and I'm guessing, Mr. Hill, we're going to get to Ottawa next, I believe.
Yeah, I guess you guys read the content because that's exactly what we're going to talk about next. It is worth noting, just expanding on the numbers for all of these guys. Everybody's on the right side of the plus-minus category. Johnny Gaudreau at a +6, Mark Stone a +16, and of course you mentioned Mike Hoffman, 26 goals and a +23. Fantastic for them. Let's go ahead and talk about the Ottawa Senators, one of the best stores in all of hockey, and the Hamburglar himself, Andrew Hammond, 13-0-1 since being called up and starting for the Senators. 1 point behind the Boston Bruins for a wild card spot in the playoffs. Can Ottawa do it? Can they finally overtake Boston and get into the playoffs as a wild card?
Well, they actually did. They won last night over the San Jose Sharks, and they now are 1 point ahead of the Boston Bruins. And ironically, they face the New York Rangers on Saturday, I believe, in Ottawa, the capital of Canada. And to answer your question, it's just been unbelievable. Andrew Hammond's been one of the feel-good stories. Not quite Vezina contending, although one would say why not. He's 14-0-1 in his past 15 starts. It's surprising. I mean, I'll admit when I'm wrong. I didn't think Ottawa was going to compete this year. Losing Jason Spezza in the offseason, not getting a whole lot in return for him. But it's been a complete team effort. I mean, we're seeing Mike Hoffman, Mark Stone, Mika Zibanejad, Alex Chiasson. They're all contributing. It's not just one guy like Erik Karlsson who you thought, okay, that guy's going to lead the team in goals, and he's a defenseman. He's playing well, but the team in front of him, a team in front of a good goalie always is the catalyst for results. But the last line of defense is always your goaltender. And Andrew Hammond, since being called up from the Binghamton Senators in the AHL, has stolen the show. He's given Ottawa a chance to believe. And I don't see it stopping. I think Ottawa, they're getting hot at the right time with less than 11 games to go. Boston's been falling off, and I think they're in big trouble, especially if Ottawa continues their role.
Yeah, and I'd like to clarify that with a little analogy. It's basically like two people sitting down and they're taking their finals. They had an all right year. However, we have one person, the Ottawa Senators, and they take their test. They're getting their answers right. We have another team, Boston Bruins. They're filling out their answers, and they can't come up with an answer. And they need to figure it out soon, or they're going to be not making the playoffs. And I'm telling you that right now. I think the Ottawa Senators definitely going to make the playoffs. Bruins, no way.
Yeah, no question about it. As a
I
hockey,
like that analogy, too.
Fantastic
That was really
analogy.
good.
Thank
and
you.
it relates to us because we're college students and we've got the finals just around the horizon. I know we don't
remind me
about
of
it, but as a hockey fan, I have to say I did not expect Ottawa and Calgary to have the years that they had. I thought they would struggle this year, and they would be a couple of years away. Very pleasant surprises for both. But let's go ahead and hit the rumor mill in the National Hockey League and talk about the overtime and some possible rule changes coming there. The proposal, I suppose you could say, is a 3-on-3 overtime for the 2015-2016 season. So what are your thoughts on that possible rule change heading into the extra frame of play?
I love it. Whatever gets a shootout out of the game or limits a shootout in any way, shape, or form, I'm all for it, because Keith Olbermann used a great expression. It's like deciding a football game with a field goal kicking contest. It's like deciding a baseball game with a home run derby at the end when you're tied in extra innings. It was great while it lasted. I think the American Hockey League really set the precedent for how this overtime is going to be played. Shootouts are down almost 40% in that league because they went to a 3-on-3 after, I believe, 2 minutes and 30 seconds have elapsed in overtime. It's you move to 3-on-3, and then if there is no score at the end of 4-on-4 and 3-on-3, then you go to a shootout. But goals are up in overtime in the American Hockey League, and I think that could set a precedent for the NHL. As long as they get this done, I'm all for 3-on-3. Whatever limits the shootout, it can still hang around, but as long as there's not a solid big number of shootouts, I'm perfectly fine with it.
I'm going to have to disagree on this one. I think that, right now, as it is fine. 4 players, 5 minutes overtime, then go to the shootout. I know they're trying to get rid of, as many shootouts as there are, but speaking from a fan perspective, why get rid of that? That is what is really, fans love to see. I know whenever I come to a game, I really hope that I see a close game that goes into a shootout, because it's fun to watch. If it isn't broke, why fix it?
Well, I see your point, and to counter that, I would say it's a better alternative than the tie, because ties in hockey are useless.
Yeah,
they're a non-factor. But it really, the penalty shot for a long time was the most exciting play in hockey. But now when you see one, you're not as excited. You know why? That's because of the shootout. You see it all the time. I think it's more exciting now with wide open ice, 3-on-3, with more opportunity for your best players to do what they do skill-wise. To me, it's like a skills competition now. Mm-hmm. It's not just a shootout, it's an entire thing. And I think that's why this would be a better alternative.
Yeah, there's certainly pros and cons for each way. And if you're the NHL, you probably have to look at the casual fan, a game that is not as popular as some of the other sports, maybe here in America. You want to try to grow that casual fan base. They need to figure out whatever is more exciting for the casual fan, whether it be the shootout or the 3-on-3 overtime. That's what they need to go to and adopt the casual fan, because the more fans you have, the more money you make, and everyone is happy at that point. But let's close this out with just a bit of a random question here. I'll ask you right now, who is the best team in the Western Conference?
Oh boy, that's a difficult question in a league where there's not one best team. If I had to pick one, I would actually say the Nashville Predators. I mean, they're not in first place in the Central. Don't let that fool you. They're a great hockey team. Philip Forsberg on that team. James Neal coming over from the Pittsburgh Penguins has really picked up the goal-scoring slack that has always haunted Nashville, never thought of as an offensive team. Well, he's helped remedy that, along with Mike Santorelli, Cody Franson, and, of course, Shea Weber, Pekka Rinne, the mainstays in Nashville. I think this team could realistically go to the Stanley Cup Finals. They have all the tools necessary, offense, defense, bottom six, great goaltending. Sky's the limit. I think it's the Nashville Predators.
I like where he went with the Central Division. I'm going to say the St. Louis Blues. Reason why is because stats alone. Top 10 on the penalty kill, top 5 in goals, and the power play percentage. Really, they're just looking great. Fun team to watch. I definitely think they're going to go all the way to the Stanley Cup. TJ Oshie, phenomenal player, America's hero, to say. But yeah, I really think St. Louis Blues definitely have it together.
Yeah, the Western Conference playoffs should be a lot of fun, and especially you look at Nashville, the way they started the year, such a great start, and St. Louis has been fantastic as well. So the Western Conference should be a lot of fun. It was a great hockey discussion here this evening on The Big Hit. We loved every second of it. Playoffs coming soon. We hope you follow hockey all the way. Mike Gosnell, Andrew Friend will take a quick break, come back and twist and shout our way into the NCAA tournament, recapping the March Madness tournament when we come back right here on The Big Hit.
It's hard to explain. It just became home. There are hundreds of majors and programs, bachelor's degrees to PhDs, small classes and faculty that really get to know you. Amazing internships and everywhere, programs that help to find a job that is right for you. It's what IUP is about, a commitment to your success. See it for yourself. Visit us, Indiana University of Pennsylvania. Find your success.
And welcome back into The Big Hit, ladies and gentlemen. And it's time to talk some basketball. Last week we had our March Madness roundtable discussion. This week we take out Kyle Condor and we are left with Will Gaucher and Vaughn Dalzell. Guys, let's go ahead and talk some March Madness because the first couple of days of the tournament are now over. And what a start to the tournament. Day one was really just fantastic, but now the Sweet 16 is set. Some surprising upsets as always. North Carolina State stunned the top-seeded Villanova Wildcats in the East region by a score of 71-68. Were you surprised by the Wildcats' early exit after being a 1 seed?
No, Josh. I cannot say that I was surprised. I actually had Villanova losing to NC State in my bracket, if I recall. NC State is a very veteran-led team. They host a lot of seniors, a lot of juniors. They're led by a prolific scorer, Mr. Lacey. He gets it done. And Villanova, they played a okay schedule, Big East. They played some tournament teams. I believe they had 6 tournament teams, if I believe correctly, in the Big East. But NC State, they had already beaten Duke. They had already beaten Carolina. And they already had beaten Louisville. So it's like they know what that stage is like. Some of those kids have been there before a couple years ago. It really didn't shock me that much that Villanova went down this early to this good of a team.
I see where it comes from. I was a little surprised that they lost, being the 1 seed and everything, and NC State being the 8 seed. But Villanova plays an easier schedule, as you just spoke on. They play in the Big East. NC State plays those top teams, Duke, Carolina, Syracuse, all these teams over and over, twice a season, sometimes 3 in the tournament. So you could see they're a better team than what they might be because they play a harder schedule. They play all those great teams. So Villanova, I was surprised. I really thought those 7 core players they had could lead them a long way. And my bracket got a little beat up after that, so I wasn't too excited about it. But I was surprised, and NC State can make a run. It's going to be interesting to see how good they really are.
Yeah, and I'd like to look at this a little bit more and go inside the numbers a bit more. Villanova, and look at their performance. They shot 27% in the half court. When you look at their first round game, they shot 61% in the half court. Villanova was really a good team in the half court all year long. They shot 45%. The second best field goal percentage in the Big East as a team. And I want to take something you said one step further as well. Of course, NC State beat Duke. They beat North Carolina. They've also beat the number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. The last team to do that was Maryland in 2001, 2002, and guess what happened to them?
Yes.
They won the national championship.
Wow.
So I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. And North Carolina State will play Louisville Friday, 7:37 tip-off with NC State and Louisville. Louisville coming in as the 4 seed. Let's look at another matchup here on the Big Hit with Michigan State defeating Virginia 60-54 in the round of 32. Another upset coming at the hands of the Spartans. What were the key factors to Michigan State's victory over the Cavaliers?
It was something I had said previously about NC State. It's that veteran leadership. You got Trice. You have Dawson. You have, who else? Forbes, who had an excellent game shooting from behind the three-point line. But really, that one factor, Travis Trice, he balled his butt off. I don't know what he was eating before the game, but that shot that he had, that three-point shot, basically to seal the deal, that takes guts. That takes ice and veins. That is what star players are made out of. This young man, he comes in every night. We thought they might have taken a little dip off when Gary Harris Jr. had left. He just fills that shoes in perfectly. And also, let me touch on Dawson. Wow. he blew me away. He really did. This whole tournament has really showed that a Tom Izzo team, when no matter where they are placed or where they're going, who they're playing, they come out and they're ready to ball. Now, the thing that they need to watch out is for those free throw shootings. Because if I was Virginia, I would have probably fouled them a little earlier. Only shooting 63% on the year, that's not going to get it done going down the stretch in those close games when you need those free throws. But Travis Trice and Brandon Dawson really held that team down. I would have to say those are the factors.
Yeah, I believe that Travis Trice really was the guy for the team. He kept the motor running. But I love this matchup because it was two half-court teams, so you know it's going to be a backyard brawl, a little bit, some hard defense, and it come down to the last minute or so, and it really did. And Trice just took control. Sometimes you see in the half-court, he would just go one-on-one late in the shot clock, shoot a three, drive to the hoop, and he made it look easy. And when you have Tom Izzo coaching, I mean, what else can you really ask for? He's a great coach. He had a great team, and it's going to be interesting to see how they play against the Sooners next round because if they win that, there's no reason why this Michigan State team can't be in the Final Four.
I don't see why not.
Yeah, and it's going to be a great game of runs. It's going to be interesting to see if that 7th seed can go to the Final Four.
Yeah, and I'd like to give you all credit. Last week we said Michigan State would be a team to watch for, and they have certainly proven us to look like we know what we're talking about a little bit. Not, I wouldn't say we know what we're talking about, but still. And let's talk about Tom Izzo a little bit, going the Izzone, so to speak, ladies and gentlemen. 44 wins in 60 tournament games for Tom Izzo. Only Mike Krzyzewski and John Wooden have had more wins to that point in their tournament careers. So you see what he's able to do. Michigan State looks like a real player going forward. But let's go ahead and preview some matchups here in the Sweet 16, beginning with the 1 seed Duke against the 5 seed Utah. That is March 27th in Houston, Texas at 9:45 p.m. Guys, what are you looking for in this particular matchup?
What I'm looking for is actually a matchup of the guards. DeLone Wright versus Tyus Jones and Quinn Cook. DeLone Wright, he can fill up the stat sheet, as we know. He's averaging just over about 14 points a game, but when it comes down to tournament time, that's when he turned it on a little more. Now, the last game versus, I'm losing who they have played, versus Georgetown, he had I guess you can call it an off game, 12 points. But when you have 4 other people that's scoring over double digits and one person was at 9, so we'll just say 5, that's incredible for a team to uplift. But then you got to go to the Durham team. Jahlil Okafor. Wow. Just wow. I mean, if he's not the #1 overall pick, I don't know what. All this time I've been talking about Cauley Stein. I've been talking about all these Kentucky Wildcat players, but he stands out as, like, they're calling him the next Tim Duncan. Then you go over to Quinn Cook and Tyus Jones, who are knocking down shots, and it's crazy. It's going to be a really interesting game because Utah, they can get up and down, they can play half court, but I feel like Duke is really going to get this done.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how they can score. They're 13th in the country, averaging 48.5% shooting, which is very good, even though they play in a Pac-12 conference that runs up and down a lot. And it's going to be interesting to see if Duke can slow them down a little bit. And I don't think anyone on this floor can guard Okafor. No. And I think that's going to be the difference. You see last game, he had, I think, 26 and 10 or something of that sort. There's no one that can guard him.
No.
And I thought Georgetown was a little overrated, as Utah also. I thought they were overrated and overseeded so I think that Duke will beat them. I don't think it'll be that close of a game, but I want to see how Utah does because 6 players on their team last game scored 9 or more points. So that's going to be interesting stat to see if they can keep that up also.
Yeah, it does seem hard to imagine a scenario in which Utah can come away with a win against the Blue Devils, but Utah, very scrappy team, and you both mentioned some of the X factors for this game. DeLone Wright leads the team in scoring, also leads the team in assists, and for Duke, Jahlil Okafor leads the team in points, also leads the team in rebounding. So it'll really be important for DeLone Wright to not only score the basketball, but get his other teammates involved to try to upset the Blue Devils. But let's go ahead and take a look at another Sweet 16 matchup pitting the Kentucky Wildcats, the #1 overall seed, against the Press Virginia Mountaineers, ladies and gentlemen. That game coming Thursday, March 26th in Cleveland, 9:45 p.m. tip-off. So what do we see in this one? It is the 1 coming for Kentucky, or are they escaping another round?
I think that they're going to escape just fine. Everybody has tried something different versus Kentucky, whether it's a half-court press, full-court press, playing zone. Man, they've seen it all. So for Press Virginia, if you will, as you guys stated, Josh, they better bring it hard with the press, and their rotations better be on point, because if not, all it takes is 1, 2, alley-oop, and that should be the ball game. It's going to be tough for them. Not saying it's going to be impossible. Nothing's ever impossible, but they're going to have to score, and they're going to have to score quickly, control the tempo, control the possessions, watch turnovers, because that's usually the demise in teams versus Kentucky.
Yeah, West Virginia leads the whole country in steals with 11 steals a game, so that's miraculous on its own. But Kentucky presses a lot too sometimes, and it's hard when you get pressed. You're a team that doesn't like to get pressed in return, and I think Kentucky's going to do that, and they're going to flush West Virginia. And if you notice, West Virginia, every other possession, you see someone hitting the floor. They play a little out of control, but that's what they're good at. So it's going to be interesting to see. But I think Kentucky has this one in the bag. I don't think it's much of a contest because they're just way too talented for West Virginia. But I think if any team in the region that has a chance, it may be them with the way they play.
And when you look at Kentucky, just star power, allure, and West Virginia probably going to press Kentucky. They may wear them out, but you know what Kentucky does? They send in a brand new wave of players, and they're just as talented as the first wave. So it's trying to keep up with a team and shutting down Kentucky for 40 minutes with a bunch of different guys coming in. Not an easy task. Nobody's been able to do it to this point in the season. West Virginia with 9 losses on the year as well. So that should be a good matchup March 26th in Cleveland, 9:45 p.m. tip-off there. But guys, let's close this segment out by asking the question, who do you think is the most unexpected team to make it out of the Sweet 16, and why do you say so?
I actually believe that will be NC State. I think they've already beaten Louisville one time. Why not do it again? You know, if they can beat them, who's to say that they can't go to the Final Four? Another reason I would say NC State is, again, that veteran leadership. They've been to the tournament before. They've seen the lights, the glamour. Their coach is well documented, you know. I think that they have a real shot at going to the Final Four if they can get past this game. If they get past Louisville, watch out for those Wildcats, man.
I'm going to keep it inside the East region here and go with the Michigan State Spartans. I think they have a pretty good matchup against Oklahoma. I think they can take advantage. They're a way more experienced team, and I think they got a little underseeded at 7. I think they deserve more than that. So I think they're going to make the most, but also watch out for them Tar Heels, because I think the Tar Heels can make a good chance to beat Wisconsin Badgers.
Nobody's really talking about that.
I believe, we said last week we think they can make a real run. I think they could be a Final Four team. They remind me a lot of UConn, like I said before. And Marcus Page can take over a game, but so can Frank Kaminsky. But it's going to be interesting to see. But I think Michigan State and North Carolina both have the best chances to make it past the Sweet 16.
Yeah, always great to talk March Madness basketball. So many games in such a short amount of time. It's hard to keep up, but it's good to kind of relax, get a couple days before the next round, catch our breaths, talk about what just happened, and we love doing it here on The Big Hit. So Will Gaucher, Vaughn Dalzell, I'm Josh Hill. As we crash the boards in Division I college basketball, we'll step out and crash the boards in Division II college basketball, because the NCAA Division II Elite Eight is set and the IUP Crimson Hawks are in it. We'll preview the matchup that they have and talk about the Crimson Hawks when we come back here on The Big Hit.
How are they going to watch this when you are just in La La Land? This is embarrassing.
Is that bad?
Look at you.
You know, I thought this was a pretty good segment.
Did you?
Yeah.
Do you even know what they're saying?
No.
You're putting your foot up on set. You just think this is a couch? This is embarrassing. I mean, even here, you're starting to interrogate somebody. Look at you. Turn your back to the camera. That's embarrassing. Where's your suit and tie? You have a Pirates shirt on.
They made the playoffs.
I don't care. You can't be biased. This is ridiculous. Ay, Dios mío.
Welcome into The Big Hit, ladies and gentlemen, our final segment of the evening, and as some would say, we saved the best for last, especially for fans around here, ladies and gentlemen, as we're talking IUP Crimson Hawks basketball in the Crimson Huddle. And joining us for that, it's two guys who've been around the team a lot this year from the Crimson Hawks Sports Network. It's Dakota London and the play-by-play voice of IUP on 90.1. It is Malusi Kitchen. Guys, let's go ahead and start talking about the IUP Crimson Hawks by looking back a bit here here to their game against West Liberty in the Atlantic Region Championship at the ASRC. The Crimson Hawks come out with a 77-74 victory. Brandon Norfleet hits the big shot at the end, and they clinch their first Atlantic Region Championship since 2010. Coincidentally enough, the year they went to the national title game. So what does this accomplishment mean for this team to go to West Liberty, a place where West Liberty never loses, and beat the Hilltoppers on their floor?
I think it means a lot, and I think, it's not just because it's IUP. I think that would mean a lot for any team, but considering it was IUP against West Liberty, where they have had some run-ins in the past, it's extremely significant. I think the biggest thing for them is the fact that the way they came off the loss for the PSAC championship, that for them to respond the way they did and to not, basically give up, because, we all watched that game and it looked like they had it won. If it wasn't for a miraculous 3, they win that game. So I think the fact that they're at the point they are now, also how many contributors they've had over the season in general. We all came to the season thinking, you're going to get what you're going to get out of Devontae, out of Brandon Norfleet, out of Jeremy Jeffers. And they've just had so many other pieces come in and be so significant. And they've really been a close-knit team. If you see them, outside of the arena, you see how close they are, how it's such a family environment. And for them to have all the success that they've had thus far and to win that, especially despite having had such a heartbreaking loss, not even a couple weeks before, that really shows you the heart and grit of that team.
Absolutely. I think you said it best. I think it's important to know, like you said, that IUP has had some run-ins with West Liberty in the past, and I think that was a big mental obstacle that they had to get over. And I know people here, when I was talking or just around campus, like, how do you feel about the game? They were like, oh, I think we're going to lose because we've lost so many times. Right. And it's been heartbreakers. Sometimes it's just been, we just lost. Yeah. And, but I think, like you said, it helped them the way they came off the responding from the loss from the PSAC, and the way they went into the game definitely helped. I kind of think about it like, if you remember, like LeBron in his early years, where he faced Boston a lot in the playoffs, and he couldn't get over the hump. Right. And he eventually got over him when he went to Miami. But that just happens with sometimes. Sometimes teams, they run into teams that are just great and they keep beating them, but eventually you're going to get over the hurdle, and I think that's what they did. Yeah.
Yeah, West Liberty is the quintessential tournament team, the quintessential Division II college basketball team. It's an era of run and gun style, chucking up the threes, a lot of athleticism, not so much the bruisers anymore. I've said that on a couple of broadcasts throughout the season. So IUP, you could see the transition from a couple of years. They had the big bruisers, and they really weren't able to do anything in 2010, and they kind of adapted their style, got a little bit more athletic, a little bit more lean, some guys who could run the floor, and it's really proved to be a great benefit for these IUP Crimson Hawks, who are now in their 6th Elite 8 appearance here. They will face Azusa Pacific on Wednesday, and I will let you guys kind of scout this team a little bit, but they have a very young coach, only 34 years old, and Azusa Pacific comes in after a 2-year probationary period, transferring into the NCAA from the NAIA, and they come in here to the Elite 8, a good team, and a lot of guys who can score points for them, very athletic.
Yeah, and we talked about it a little bit before the segment started. They had some citations that they had to deal with, and they kind of basically had it made to where they can put all their eggs in this basket for this season. So they have all starting seniors when they're front 5. If you look at their team, they're actually kind of similar to how West Liberty is built. Probably not as talented, but if you look at Troy Leaf, if you look at Sandoval, they have some talent in their guards, and they have about maybe 4 or 5 players that are shooting 40% from the three-point line. So they absolutely have talent. They're there for a reason. I think having scoring guards is kind of very similar to how IUP is with Devontae and Sean Dyer. So they definitely have talent. They're not that big. They don't really have a lot of huge rebounders. Nobody on their team that's rebounding near double digits. But they can run and they can score, and that's a dangerous team to watch out for.
Yeah, this game is going to come down to execution. I don't think it's a matter of talent, of who's better, because I don't think any one of these teams are going to get blown out of the arena. I mean, unless they just have a complete mental breakdown, what team, but that's not going to happen. It's going to be who can execute their game plan the best. And like you mentioned, Troy Leaf before, he scores 23.4 points a game.
Right.
So he's a big factor to this team. And I guess that senior leadership, having that 2-year probationary period, just not being in the playoffs has really helped them, be the catalyst for this team. Like you said, Sandoval, I believe he also scores about a good 18 points a game. So those two, the offense really runs through them. So it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be not difficult, but it's going to be interesting to see if Devontae and Norfleet and how they approach this team, because it is their first time being eligible, and they won their region. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. But as far as this game goes, if IUP plays their game, I think they can come out on top, because they play sound defense, and we all know defense wins championships. So, and that's throughout sports in general. So if they play their game and Devontae is able to get people like Ubede, Hanner, whoever else they bring in, however Lombardi's going to devise his coaching plan, I think they'll be all right.
Yeah, and you made a good point. I think that's kind of where you would say IUP has the advantage, because they have so many scoring options. Whereas, they kind of have their two guards, Sandoval and Leaf, who are really their main scorers, and everybody gets in the pieces that they can. But with IUP, anybody can really get hot. We've seen Sean Dyer get hot. You've seen how Tanner gets at the rim. If Ubede gets in the post and can make some shots, they could score. And then, of course, you can't count on Norfleet. So I think IUP has a very good chance to win, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, great point. Great analysis, guys. And of course, Leaf, 7th in the nation in scoring. He's an All-American and should be just a fantastic matchup. That game coming Wednesday, tip-off at 3:30. That will be streamed on NCAA.com, and it is worth mentioning, if the IUP Crimson Hawks move along in the NCAA tournament, the Final Four and the National Championship games will be on CBS Sports Network, so fans can tune into that, and of course stay tuned to IUPathletics.com for updates concerning the IUP men. But guys, we're always looking forward here on the Big Hit. As a team, they probably don't like to do that, but as people in the media, we love to look forward and look at what this team could be possibly in the future. So we're not discounting this team now, but it is kind of interesting to look at what this team might look like next year without Devontae Chance, Jeremy Jeffers, Sean Dyer. So my question to you is, what do you think they will look like without these three catalysts? They've been real stalwarts for this IUP team.
They're certainly not going to be the same. I just think you're losing a lot of leadership, and on top of that, talent, especially with Devontae and Jeremy. And, the impact that Sean has had this year has been fantastic if you really watch him play. He is a very clutch player. He's made crucial shots all season, so I think losing him as well will be pivotal. They do have some young talent. I think eventually, we all kind of seen it coming, but it'll eventually really be Brandon Norfleet's team. I actually kind of assumed that that's how it was going to be this year, but then Devontae just kind of took that and ran with it. They still have Tanner, I believe, will still be there, and they'll still have some other pieces. And then again, I'm sure they're going to get a lot of recruiting based off the season they had this year, so I'm sure it'll be all right. And they have excellent coaching as well. You really can't replace Devontae. You can't replace Jeremy, especially if you factor in how they play, Devontae's ability to shoot threes, get into the paint, distribute, and then Jeremy's ability to almost be a power forward who can knock down a three with no problem at all. Those are something you can get from everybody, but hopefully, with the recruiting and you have some other guys step up, they'll be all right.
All right, let's be honest. It's going to be, I think it's a transitioning period.
Yeah.
It's going to be. They're still. I think they can still be in the top 25, but I think they might fall off here and there throughout the season because there's going to be some rough patches. Because there's going to be, like you said, new people in the chemistry-wise. Devontae Chance, Norfleet, Jeffers. These guys, they've been playing together for a couple of years now, so they know each other's strengths and weaknesses and how they play together. Right. And I think it's also going to be a challenge for Coach Lombardi how he wants to take this team moving forward, because losing a player like Devontae isn't like, it's sending away some other player. Like, they are really, really close. Yeah. The growth that he's seen over his time here at IUP has been tremendous. Like you said, the leadership, he's become a better floor general and just all around aspects of the game. So I think, and it's funny because we take it for granted here at IUP, but when we watch him, sometimes I'll see Coach Lombardi, he'll just let Devontae call out the plays himself. He won't even, question him or be like, hey, no, I want this play. He'll be
Right.
no, coach, I got it. This is the play that we should run. So just that amount of trust between your point guard and your coach is very important. And I think that's going to be missed here. And like you said, you can't say enough about Jeffers either and Dyer. I mean, the impact Dyer's had here has been absolutely amazing. He can just pull up from three. He can create his own shot, get in the lane, create shots for his teammates. So it's just going to be a rough period here for IUP going on. But I still think they'll be okay. I think Coach Lombardi will bring in some good recruits and work them into the system slowly but surely.
Yeah, and Sean Dyer was a really big piece, and he's been a really big piece all year long. He's really settled in and has been a catalyst for IUP. But taking a look at some of the people that may be returning for the IUP Crimson Hawks, of course, Norfleet, Daddy Ubede, Tevin Hanner, you've mentioned them. Manny Yard will be back, and you have to think maybe a transfer or two may come along for next year. But when you look at this year, it's very interesting to note all 8 teams in the Elite Eight this year were not in it last year. So a lot of parity in the NCAA. And I'd like to just close out our discussion tonight talking about the All-American. Very happy to announce that Devontae Chance named an All-American Potential Player of the Year candidate. So guys, I know Malusi, you had touched on it a bit, but maybe just a little bit more if you have anything. Let's discuss Devontae Chance and his growth over the past 4 years, because we've seen him come in and we see where he's at now, and it's really just been light years of difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, from somebody who knows Devontae personally, and you can see not only the growth on the court, but just as him as a person, he's grown up so much in such a short amount of time. And we would talk about just statistically, his freshman year, although he didn't, he didn't start, but he still got significant minutes. His three-point percentage was 20%. He now shoots 40% the three-point line. He shot 31 last year, and is averaging about 7, 8 more points than the previous year. So he's just really taken the role as a leader and ran with it. And you can always see it in him because he's such a fiery player. And now that the team was really like, this is his team, he just absolutely has been magnificent. And you said it, that's something you're not going to be able to replace easily. All the accolades that he's had, put on him, he's been humble about it. He's lived in the moment. He's appreciated it. And he's gone out and done as much as he possibly can to put his team in the best possible position to win. And it's going to be, he's one of those players where you're not going to know just how impactful he was until he's not here anymore. So he's grown up a lot. He's became a much better player. He's become a heck of a leader. They rally behind him. The coach has a lot of belief in him. So he has been absolutely fantastic, and this team will not be the same without him.
Absolutely. I think words can't describe how much Devontae Chance means to this team. I think, like you said, his impact on and off the court just speaks volumes about his character and how he is as a person, like you said. It's a really, we've been very fortunate to see him grow over the years, and just his basketball IQ has grown so much over the time he spent with Coach Lombardi through all the ups and downs, winning PSAC championships. They've been to I believe in his time here, the NCAA tournament at least a good 3 or 4 times every year, I'm almost sure. But it's just an absolute pleasure to watch him grow as a player. And like you said, his shot is a lot more consistent now. I mean,
oh my gosh.
2 years ago, he would make and miss, sometimes he would get on a hot run, but you never knew if he was going to have that next game. Now, throughout this whole season, he's been consistent, putting up 20 points, dishing out assists, just being a better leader in general. And I think that has really helped his case. And like you said, he's very appreciative about it. He's humble. He's a great kid, and he's going to go far in life just in general because just to how he is as a person. I think this experience has definitely helped him along.
Yep.
Yeah, no question about it, no matter how you slice it. Games winding down for the senior class of IUP Crimson Hawks, and we're very happy to be able to watch Devontae throughout the years. But that's going to wrap it up here this evening for the Big Hit. IUP Azusa Pacific coming up Wednesday. Opponents yet to be determined if the IUP Crimson Hawks win. Looking at this slate of teams, no pushovers obviously, but if there's one team you would want to face in the NCAA tournament the first round, I think Azusa Pacific may be that team. So we'll see if the Crimson Hawks can come away with a victory against Azusa Pacific. You can watch that game, listen to it as well, follow along on IUP Athletics So that'll wrap it up here tonight for Dakota London. Malusi Kitchen, I'm Josh Hill. We encourage you to follow us along on Twitter for all of the latest updates. Director Michael Mattingly Martone, producers of Malusi Kitchen, Kyle Condor, everyone running the camera, everybody behind the scenes. We thank you for joining us this evening, and go Crimson Hawks, bring home that victory.